Hey everybody, this is Greg from Elysian Fields. In today's video, you're going to see me complete the installation of the clutch on this Case 310 Dozer. I learned some things along the way, and at the end of the video, we're going to get the machine down off its cribbing, and we're going to move it around in the building a little bit. I know I had promised that we were going to take us outside and move some dirt around with it, but right now the frost is coming out of the ground. It's been raining. It's entirely too soft around here. So I hope, if nothing else, that you're entertained, and I hope you stay tuned. Bearing Bulldozer parts. Let's take a look and see what we got. I went out this morning to check the trail camera, and when I was driving by the delivery station out by the road, I saw there were some packages in there. So I think it's the clutch and the pressure plate. And this is a plug for my trailer, for powering up my trailer. So let's get to opening these up and see. But, you know. What? Oh yeah, look at that. Wow. Brand spanking new, old and dirty. I don't want to touch that. Okay, now he did tell me that this was going to look different, but this is the new style. This has 6 pads that cover the whole area. This only has 5, and they're much smaller, but they're saying that it will perform just as good as this. What I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to take a DA sander and I'm going to go in there. I'm just going to work that thing all down and take the shiny scale off it before I put this in. I'm still waiting on the throwout bearing and the lubrication tube. I have to either make or buy or find one somewhere. Once I find that and that clutch throwout bearing shows up, we're going to take all this and get out there and put it on. So still waiting on the bearing. So kind of happy about that. Let's see what this is. This is the bearing. Look at that. No, but the bearing and this are here, so I could get going on this. So here's the guys. Broken tractor. Good guys. That's my wife, by the way, queen of the trailer park, Dreama. Okay. Where are you going? You taking off?
Yep, I'm going. Just want to let you know.
All right. So these are not parts they have given to me. I bought these parts from them. This is not a paid endorsement, but I wanted to give them a shout out because they spent some time on the phone with me, because this is an older machine and it took a little bit of tracking down to get the bearing, believe it or not, was harder to find than the clutch parts. So we're looking like we're ready to go. Actually, I'm gonna get out there and we're gonna get going on this thing. Let's get to it. So we've got the clutch carrier and throwout bearing. We're gonna knock this bearing out of here. I'm gonna wire wheel this thing clean. just like new. You're good to go. Houston, we have a problem. The bushing is slightly different. So we will have to reach out to the guys at Broken Tractor and find out what's going on there. I came out and started looking things over. I wanted to clean up the face of the flywheel that the clutch plate engages with. And as I started looking at it closer, getting a light down in there and wiping it all off with a rag, there's a pretty good step in there. So rather than just throw the new clutch plate and the pressure plate in, I'm going to try and get that flywheel out of there, set it up on the mill, and mill that thing flat. So that's where we're at. And there's not really much more to say, so let's just get to it. Okay, well, I had to get kind of creative here to be able to get these flywheel bolts, nuts taken off these bolts. And because they are on so tight that I could not move them with an impact or a breaker bar. With the impact, it just didn't have enough balls. The breaker bar, every time I would pull the breaker bar, the motor would turn over. So I had to figure out a way to stop the motor from turning over. And I came up with a quick little hack. And I'll show you that pretty soon here. I got to go cut another board to brace in here so I can get this last bolt loose. It's difficult to... And my little hack down there for holding that motor worked really well. They are really on there. I'll do this like NASCAR. There's all four right there. Man, I can't be dropping that on me. Time to start trying. Oh, it's coming off. There, it's off. And there's the flywheel. There is the starter over there off to the right. That came out again way better than I expected. And wire brush it just a little bit. That's a deep groove from there to here. We're going to mill this amount off. And but that's going to take a little bit of time. I got to get the mill indicated in. I got to make sure everything is just right before we get to doing that. So the flywheel is all ready to be installed. You might think that I milled this on the index here, but that wasn't going to work out. So I ended up taking this over to a buddy's place, and he machined 60 thousandths off the back of the flywheel here. What I was doing with the sander was knocking off any little bit of rust that got on there from when it was sitting in the trunk of my car, and just making sure that it was a good, smooth, even surface. I didn't need to do it, but I did it for my own peace of mind. But this is ready to be installed with a couple exceptions. We have to measure the pilot bushing diameter and measure the output shaft diameter. Make sure that this is not worn out or that the shaft isn't worn out. Along with that, I've got the new line for the throwout carrier. You remember the old one here was broken, had worn. rubbing against the bell housing. I was up at West Michigan Rubber and in Muskegon, and Nick helped me out. I took my line up there to him, and him and Eric took a look at it, and they said, you know what, we got a fitting that'll fit right on there. They clipped it off, they stuck the fitting on there, crimped it on for me, tossed it on the counter, said no charge. Thanks a lot, fellas. That is very much appreciated. So I'm going to be able to put this on once this is installed with the throwout bearing. Once I know that the diameter is good here and the shaft is good, we're going to start putting this back together. So it's time to get to it, finally. Got to put my spectacles on so I can read, or so I can see. I should be able to read without spectacles, but the pilot is 885 thousandths. This is 890 thousandths. So we have a 5 thousandths play in there. That doesn't seem like too much to me. If it was any more than that, I would say we're outside of the spec. But I think 5 thousandths on that diameter is probably okay. It's time to start cleaning this up and getting this ready to put together. Bearing doesn't feel bad, so I'm not going to worry about trying to replace it. So here we got, this is ready to go, and we're going to thread this in here, tighten it up, and then I'm not sure that it'll go that way. I think it's going to be better going that way. We'll find out. This thing's ready to install. And it's going to go up in there like that, and I'm going to stick that on there like that. Oh, it's on. Beautiful. Slide that right in its saddle. Boy, oh boy. I don't think we could have made that any better. Now with that, we are ready to put the flywheel back on. I don't know, something's telling me that I should probably pack some grease in there, yeah. There is a, I want to get that grease that is, I want to clean that up just a little bit. That's where your flywheel mounts to the back of the motor. That bolt pattern positions the flywheel so the timing marks on the flywheel are in the right position. So when you need to tune this tractor up, tune this motor up, you can get a timing light on those marks and make sure that the motor's tuned correctly. Yeah, we'll try once more. If you don't go in this time, we're going to take a break. There we go. She's on. There we go. That sucker's on. Click. 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 When I disassembled this machine and dropped the clutch, pressure plate and clutch plate out of it, it didn't want to come out of that access hole in the bottom of the bell housing because it was, the two pieces were interfering. There we go. It's gonna come out. And then we'll set it there. There it is. When I look at the new parts, everything in my gut is telling me that the hub on the clutch plate should face the transmission or away from the motor. I'm talking about this right here. And then there it is. That protrusion was sticking into the flywheel, into the counterbore on the flywheel. So I'm going to assemble this the way I feel it's supposed to be, because I am pretty confident that that was not put together the right way. I don't know how they got it in there, and I'm not going to struggle with it. As long as there's no interference with the throwout bearing making contact with the clutch plate hub, if there's no interference there, there's no foul. So I made up my mind how I'm going to do this, and I came up with a pretty ingenious little hack, I think. The zip tie. And the way I've got it on there, I've got it on there so it's centered. And my plan is to lift this thing up into the machine, get it like this, and then slide it up into the machine and get a bolt in each hole and leave them loose. So I should be able to get the input shaft in, get it into its seat. While this is all still loose, get the input shaft and its plate secure. Then I will cut the zip ties, pull them out, and then snug those bolts up while I'm rotating the motor, and it'll keep all of that stuff centered on the shaft. See, this is even fitting tight like this. There is no way that that assembly was going in the other way. No way. No flippin' way. Okay, it's up in there and it can't fall out. Man, that stuff is horrible. Get it on the fitting. Any grease coming out? Oh yeah, look at that. There's grease coming out already. Now we'll set that in its saddle. Hopefully it goes in with no trouble. There we go. Keep all the crap out of the throwout bearing. Slide that out of there. Be careful. Now we got to find there we go. I ran into a real problem. You know, I was talking about inverting that, flipping the clutch plate and putting the, let me get a teaching tool here a bit. I was talking earlier about how this pressure plate and how this clutch plate came out of the machine. And when I disassembled it, the front of the machine is here, the back of the machine is here. When I disassembled it, it came out like this. And when it was coming out, the clutch plate and this arbor had slid down and it got pinched on the big opening on the flywheel and it wouldn't come out. I had to push this back up in and then I could pull this down and then this fell out. as you saw in the first video. I took a bunch of measurements and I thought, you know what? The machine doesn't care which way this plate is. It's got wear material on both sides. So I put this together this way, and as you saw, I zip tied it on, thinking I'd get it in there and leave it loose, get the input shaft put in, and then cut the zip ties, pull them out, golden. Well, that didn't work. I couldn't get the seat, the pilot, to go into the pilot on the back of the motor. So I called my neighbor over, and he came over this morning and very graciously assisted me in getting that pilot to seat. And the only way we got it done was we loosened everything up. He was working on the output shaft and moving that around as I rotated this and moved it until, boink, it went in. Well, it went in, but it stopped with about 3/16 of an inch before it would actually seat out on the bell housing. And I thought, no big deal, that's probably just the pilot not seating correctly. So he tightened it up. And then as I started checking things, I realized something was wrong. And what it was when I did all those measurements to figure out if all the clearances were good, everything was good except the splines on the shaft. Where they got shallower, this ended up moving so far down that shaft with it being inverted like this that it got into that taper and it locked up. That led to about an hour of getting tools in there to pry on that, and we finally were able to pop this off the shaft and pull that out. Then we took the assembly out, and what I did was flipped it around the way it's supposed to go. We put that shaft, we put this up in the motor, up behind the motor, the new one, and then we took a dowel and slid it in and into the pilot, and it held this in place. It held the clutch plate in place. Then I could slide the pressure plate up behind it and get it over it. We were able to get it up in there, get it seated, get it all together. It's all done. It's back together. As far as the clutch and pressure plate are in, and the drive shaft, the output shaft is bolted up and tight. Now we're down to putting all the extra pieces back on. I do need to torque the pressure plate, but then it's just putting all the stuff back together. So there's not really much to see, but except that everything is brand new. But the new pressure plate's in, the clutch plate is in, it's all working dandy. I'm going to torque these bolts down now and put this plate on, put this big bracket back in, and then everything down here is done. I don't have to crawl down here again. Hallelujah. Easier to work with.
1, 2, 3, 4. Lunch dates and coffee breaks, Tuesdays and random days. It's how we spend the worst days of our lives. Your sister doesn't like me much. Your father thinks that I'm a nut. Your son and daughter just don't wanna choose. Think it's time to get away and see. There's a big old world and it's calling you and me. Seattle's cold and I don't like New Orleans. There's a place I know would fit for you and me. go to Carolina. We could start a new life. Already my best friend. Why don't you be my new wife? I don't like living. You don't have much to trust in. You're scared to love again. I don't wanna miss a blessing. In Carolina, Carolina. The weather's nice and the leaves still turn. We can settle down and the kids can learn that home isn't a place but a feeling. There's American pride and Southern charm, Sunday school and lots of arms. We can spend the rest of our lives. Let's go to Carolina. We could start a new life. You're already my best friend. Why don't you be my new wife? I don't like living. You don't have much to trust in. You're scared to love again. I don't wanna miss a blessing.
Everything down here is done. I don't have any spare what's this? Oh, that goes up top. I was gonna say, it's never good when you get all done and you go, huh, I got some spare bolts left over. Huh. Where the hell did that happen? So, time to take a break and go think about some of my life's choices. Introspection, meditation. And don't get me wrong, I really do love working on stuff like this. How much nicer would it be just to say, hey, put a clutch in that machine for me. I can do tracks on that machine. Can you put tracks on that for me? Replace those chains. Enough babbling, Greg. So what's next? Well, everything underneath is put together. Now it's time to put together all the stuff up here. Put the foot plate inside. I got to torque the bolts for the output shaft plate and bearing. I got to torque those bolts. And then I can put the foot plate in, hook up the accelerator, put the pin back in the slow me down disengage pedal. Yeah, there's a few things to do yet, but we shall see what we shall see. So that's working good. In fact, I think what I'm going to do to make my life a little easier, we're going to torque the bolts on this output shaft plate, and then we're going to put the drive shaft in. Why do you want to do it in that order? Well, because of this. Boy, this socket is shot. I need a new 9/16. Can one of you guys send me a new 9/16 socket for a 3/8 drive? I really need one of them. The one I got's getting pretty pathetic. You know, I think I might even, what does it look like if I put you guys up here in the seat? I'm gonna push this back. Man, this is such a, I gotta invest in a better tripod. Mini tripod, that is. I really like these mini tripods because they're so tiny and they're so handy. They also come with problems. Yeah, a new 9/16 socket for 3/8 drive and a new mini tripod for my GoPro camera. Click, 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 click. All right. Those are all torqued down. Now the foot pedal. Foot bracket can go in. But before we do that, I am going to try and figure out how I can change this ridiculous vertical slot and turn it into a horizontal one. And I'll explain why. So this little gas pedal stick here has, it attaches in such a fashion where they're horizontal. And the slot in the plate, da-da-da-da, is vertical. This right here is the plate and the slot in question. This goes on like this down below, and that's supposed to go through here. But well, here's the deal. We got 7/16 of an inch sticking through there. So I'm going to cut a chunk of this off because we only need that much. So I should be able to cut that off until that just fits through, drill a new hole through it, and be good. We got plenty of room there. Boy, we're close. You know what? I think it'll work. Grease gun. I want to grease these up.
Now I realize you can grease these when it's in the machine, but it's so much easier if you just do it when you've got it out and it's laying on the bench.
All right. I'm going to call that good. Now I'm going to clean them up a little bit. And I'm going to leave them caps right on there because I don't want to mess with the little needle bearings that are inside them. And I'm going to take these over to the wire wheel and just clean the crud off the outside of it before I go to put it all back in the machine.
Your sister doesn't like me much. Your father thinks that I'm a nut. Your son and daughter just don't want to choose. I think it's time to get away and see. There's a big old world and it's calling you and me. Seattle's cold and I don't like New Orleans.
So got these all cleaned up, both ends. Then I took and I cleaned up the inside of this where the drive shaft seats out, and I cleaned up all of our U-bolts. So what I'm going to do, this portion slides over the input shaft, the output shaft. And rather than try to put this all together underneath, I'm going to put this together up here. So then the only thing I need to lay on the ground to put bolts in is the rear. When you get going on something, how your mind goes back to, well, this is how I do it. And when I was a young man doing this kind of work, we didn't have these tools. we had sockets and ratchets, extensions, and it just never ceases to amaze me how my mind works. Let's get this out of here before it falls. That it doesn't, it gets into a spot where it says this is how you do it. And so that's how I'm doing it. I wasn't going to have to come down here again. And as my dear old pappy would say, well, there you go, thinking again. There we go. Okay. So now, is it the transmission's out of gear. Good. Good, good, good. Now, can I get this over that, in there, on top of that, turn it, drop it, forward, down, in. Good. Right there. Okay, let's see if I can get these U-bolts in there. I say, will someone help me understand? So yeah, the impact is not going to work here, but the ratchet will. The ratchet should work. Get on there. Come on. Oh my gosh, you did it again. I'm thinking. $90. $135. So here we go. Lock washers. Boy, this stuff is tedious. There. Well, that's it. Now, can I get you guys down? Or am I going to have to throw something up there to knock it down? We're almost done. Then on to the floorboard. Get a longer breaker bar on there. And keep that sucker from turning when you're tightening it up.
Seattle's cold and I don't like New Orleans. There's a place I know would fit for you and me. Let's go to Carolina. We could start a new life. Already my best friend, why don't you be my new wife? I don't like living, you don't have much to trust in. You're scared to love again, I don't wanna miss a blessing. Carolina, Carolina. The weather's nice and the leaves still turn. We can settle down and the kids can learn.
So right now I'm just going to pull the safety chains off this machine so we can move it off. We got to get these off both sides. I wouldn't want to wake up dead. So here we go. Start her up, get the cribbing out from underneath it, and drag it down off this stuff, And then we'll run it back and forth just a little bit. Back and forth a little bit, and I'll pull on the steering brake to see, can I stop the machine? Hey, that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Wouldn't do that last fall. So I'm happy with that. The next project on this machine will be removing the tracks and then taking all the paddles off and installing new chains on those tracks and putting them back on the machine. When I have it apart, I'll be checking all of the sprockets and the wheels and the carriers and all that stuff, make sure they're all good. I was told they are, but you know, buyer beware kind of thing. So I'm happy. It's a good running machine. Yeah, I'm happy with it.